Good morning students, welcome back to Limitless Literature. In this particular video lecture, we are going to discuss one of the important topics for UGC NET, GATE, CUET and other competitive examination, and one of those topics is Aristotle's Poetics. So you are definitely going to find the questions from Aristotle Poetics, and it is one of the founding subjects of you can say literary criticism. If you want to learn about literary criticism, you must be knowing about the debate of Plato and Aristotle. So Plato was the teacher of Aristotle, you can say. Okay, so here we have Plato, here we have Aristotle, here we have Socrates, and here we have Alexander the Great. Okay, so Socrates was the teacher of Plato, Plato was the teacher of Aristotle, Aristotle was the teacher of Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great, you might be knowing that he came to India also. Okay, so Aristotle provided him all the wisdom to conquer the east of the world map. Okay, so he conquered the India also, a lot of Persian countries. Aristotle taught him for 10 years, or Aristotle taught Alexander the Great for 10 years. Plato taught Aristotle for 20 years. So Aristotle used to study in Plato's academy. So the word academy came from Plato's academy. Plato started a school and he wrote the name of the school, that is known as academy. So today, whatever we see, coaching classes, academy, the very first person was the Plato who used the word academy. And Aristotle founded the school Lyceum. Okay, Lyceum was the school which was founded by Aristotle. So Aristotle when started teaching Alexander the Great. After 10 years, he resigned from the post of the teacher of Alexander the Great and he started his school known as Lyceum, which was started in 335 BC. So this Lyceum school, in this school, he wrote the work Poetics. 335 BC. Poetics was written around 335 BC. Plato was against poetry. Plato says that poetry drives human emotion, and when human beings are driven by the emotions, they always take incorrect decisions, and when people are taking incorrect decisions, it is harming the society. So Plato wrote Republic. He says that the poet should be banned from the republic. For example, we have democracy, we have republic. So Plato says in the republic there should be no position, there should be no title for the poets, because poets feed the emotions, and when people are making decisions through emotions, then they are making incorrect decisions. So Plato says that philosophy is something that we should be following. So Plato was an idealist. Whereas Aristotle was scientist. Plato used to think that there is some place in the heaven, there is some place where all the perfect things exist, and he calls it theory of forms. We will discuss this also. Theory of forms says that there is a world outside this area, like there can be a heaven. So there is a world where the perfect pictures rely, and this world is just a copy of that theory. This world is just a copy of that forms. Okay, so Plato was idealist, and he believes that it is only the philosopher can understand that world and enlighten this world people and take them to there. Okay, so that's the thought process of Plato. But Aristotle was a scientist. Aristotle says, what the hell he is talking about? Aristotle believes in empiricism. Aristotle believes in logical rationality. So Aristotle used to observe the things in the ongoing world. He used to observe and he used to write the things. So Aristotle was a scientist, whereas Plato was idealist. Plato was a philosopher sort of thing. Okay, so now let's move on to the second slide. So you just have to remember this key concepts we have seen the questions in the examination. So Aristotle Poetics, we have tragedy, tragedy and its purpose is talked in chapter 6 to 8. So there was a question in the UGC net in which chapter tragedy and its purpose is talked by the Aristotle. So it was in chapter 6 to 8. Aristotle talked about the tragedy and its purposes. In chapter 6, he talked about 6 elements of tragedy. In chapter 6, he talks about catharsis. In chapter 9 to 14, he talks about plot structure, that every plot should be having the beginning, middle, and end. And then where we have peripeteia and anagnorisis, that is discussed in chapter 15. And epic poetry versus tragedy, which is better, whether epic poetry is good or tragedy is good, that is discussed in chapter number 24. Please write down as it is, because it has been asked in the competitive exams. In chapter 6, that was catharsis. Chapter 6, 6 elements of tragedy. Every single thing as it is, you have to write down in your notes, because it has been asked in the competitive exams. Okay, so now we will understand all these concepts one by one, so that things will get clear for you. Okay, before we move forward, if you want me to help you qualify any competitive exams, you can join UGC net, GATE, CUET, UPPSC, GDC ongoing English literature batch. I will be personally guiding you how to qualify these competitive exams in English literature. I'm sure that's gonna save a lot of your time. You don't have to spend 8 months, 9 months in writing down the notes. I will be providing you with the notes, personal guidance, and every single thing that is required for you to qualify this examination. Download the mobile application Limitless Literature and make sure to enroll in our course. And now let's move forward. So here we go with Plato. So Plato was idealist. Plato says there is a world. There is a world. Outside this world, there is a world. There is a world that is perfect world. And this world is just a copy. It's just a copy. Okay, so Plato says that that a carpenter, he gives an example of chair. A carpenter makes the chair. This chair is the copy of the perfect world. This chair is the copy of the theory of forms. Okay, but then comes the poet. What poet do? Comes the poet. Now poet is writing things on this chair. Poet is writing things on this chair. There is the king sits on the chair and the chair falls down. So poet is writing the poetry on this chair. So that is, poet is not writing about the reality. Reality is forms. And poet is writing about the chair which is made by the carpenter. So that's why he says that poet is writing of the things that is twice removed from the reality. Twice removed from the reality, that is the concept, and that has been asked many times in the competitive exams. Twice removed from the reality. Okay, but Aristotle was a very empiricist person. He was a very logical person. He was a scientist. He said that what is this form and all that. He just discarded all the concepts of Plato. He says that Plato is talking some metaphysical thing. There is a theory of forms and all those. But Aristotle says that we have to observe the things and we have to come on to the conclusion. So Aristotle read the poems, the work Poetics. Aristotle wrote Poetics. What he did was he carefully observed what the poets are writing, and then he came onto the conclusion that poetry is again a very good thing, tragedy is very good thing, dramas are very good thing. So Aristotle's Poetics is the guide to storytelling, offering timeless principles that continue to shape modern literature, theater, and film. So Aristotle Poetics is about his experiences while he looked at the poems and dramas very carefully. So that is what Aristotle's Poetics all about. Aristotle, as the literary scientist, we have already discussed it, that he examined all the plays, all the poems of his age. You see, he was in the Greece. Greece is just like the Bangalore of India. The same way in the Greece, the Plato, Aristotle, Xenophon, okay, a lot of writers were there. That was the intellectual hub. Greece was the intellectual hub. And one among them was Aristotle, who just observed the plays of that period of time and came up with a lot of theories. He says that storytelling is something that creates a more impact on the audience, and art is of course an imitation, but art is much more than imitation. So Plato said that art is an imitation and art is mimesis. Art is poet is imitating the chair. So art is imitation is what Plato said, but Aristotle went against him. So here we go with the point. Plato says that imitations of imitation, art is imitation. It is far away from the reality, twice removed from the reality. It confuses the fiction with the reality. There is no such places what we have discussed in the books. The poets are writing something ignorantly. The poets are foolish. The poets are writing something bad, something absurd, and they are confusing the fiction with the reality. It appeals to the emotions. It makes the readers emotional fools. So that's the point of Plato, and there is no place of the poets in the ideal society. And Aristotle came and argued Plato. Okay, so here we go. Aristotle defended the poetry. Aristotle says that yes, poetry is an imitation. Poetry is an imitation, but that's how human beings learn. A children learn through imitation. A children learn through listening. A children look at the parents, what the parents are doing. That's what the human beings do while they are born. So art is imitation, and that is the general behavior of human beings. Human beings always imitate. They learn from the external world. They observe what is happening, and that's how human beings learn, and that's natural to human being. Art is imitation, that's right, but it is natural to human being. So it is natural instinct and a way to learn by representing the actions of life. So that is the first point given by Aristotle. And then he came that catharsis. Catharsis means purging of emotions like pity and fear. For example, you look at a movie, okay? You look at a movie. There is a hero, Shah Rukh Khan. Shah Rukh Khan is a moral character. You are in love with Shah Rukh Khan, but now Shah Rukh Khan is suffering in the movie. You are watching a movie and there is a fear in you that something bad must not happen to Shah Rukh Khan. You are fear and you are sympathizing with Shah Rukh Khan. You are showing the pity. You are showing pity to Shah Rukh Khan. Please, please, villain. You are saying to the villain, please do not do this with Shah Rukh Khan. You have the emotions of fear and pity. That is the fear and pity comes in tragedy. So if something is bad happening with the Shah Rukh Khan, a good character, you feel fear and pity. So you cry when your tears come down. That is, your emotions are getting cleaned. So that is known as catharsis, cleansing of emotions. When you are crying while watching a movie, your restless emotions, the emotions which were staying dormant, is now getting released. You are crying watching the movie, and your more psychologically and emotionally you are draining. You feel light when you go out of the movie. You say that movie was very good. You feel relaxed. You feel emotionally balanced. So that is what catharsis, which is the element of tragedy. In tragedy, what happens is that a hero is suffering and you feel fear and pity. You feel tears in your eyes, and that creates emotional balance. So that is catharsis, which is you can say subtopic of tragedy. And here he goes, poetry is far better than philosophy. Poetry is far better than history, because history is just talking about the past events, but poetry is talking about the universal human behavior, that how human beings struggle, how human beings overcome those things, overcome the past struggles, and we can learn more from poetry than learning from history. So Aristotle says that poetry is much more valuable than philosophy and history, because poetry is the combination of philosophy and history. So these are the points given by Aristotle as the defense against the Plato. So that is what we have seen. Here is one of the most important thing from Aristotle Poetics. So Aristotle Poetics says that in order to make a good tragedy, in order to make a good tragedy. What is tragedy? In tragedy, there is a hero who falls down. There is a hero, you are very attached to that hero, and that hero suffers and that hero dies at the end, and you feel very bad about that hero. You have tears in your eyes, and that's the work of catharsis. So in order to write such important works, the first thing is plot. The plot should be the best thing. The plot is above every single thing. The plot is above character. The plot is above thought. The plot is above diction. The thought is above music. The thought is above spectacle. That has been asked in the previous year questions. The plot is everything. There must be a clear beginning. There must be a clear middle. There must be a clear end. Okay, you watch the movie Pushpa. There is a clear beginning in the movie. Okay, there is a Pushpa hero and he has his aura, and there is a beginning, middle, there is a middle means there is a climax point, and here in the end everything gets resolved. So beginning, middle and end, every plot should be having beginning, middle and end. There are characters, the characters should be consistent, like hero must behave like a hero must not behave like a villain, hero must be reflecting the moral values, hero must have the moral values. And then we have the thought, what the theme of the movie. The theme of the movie can be patriotism, patriotic movie, which means far beyond the general themes. Patriotism, ideal, a big picture is overgoing here. For example, we take the example of Amir Khan's Rang De Basanti. Rang De Basanti has clear beginning, middle and end. At the end of the movie, all these characters die. Of course, you know that in Rang De Basanti, all the characters die at the end. So Rang De Basanti has characters, and all these characters are consistent, and all these characters have the moral goodness. The thought is that the theme of the movie is patriotism. Patriotic movie, they are trying to bring some change in the society, so that is patriotic. Then here we have the diction. Diction means how the characters are delivering their speech. So every character has their different role, every character has their different personality, and those personality reflect through their dialogues. So dialogues should be great. Here we have the music should be there also. The songs can be the item songs, because item songs and all those things are very good in marketing the movie. Here we have at last spectacle. Spectacle means VFX, how the visuals are used. In Rang De Basanti, there were the strikes happening, there were the scenes of jail, the scenes of radio. So visuals, visuals must be there to have good tragedy, because all these things are going to affect the audience, and audience is going to cry, while watching the tragedy. So you see, plot, character, all these things are very important. Plot, character, thought, diction, music and spectacles. Okay, so only VFX will not make the movie blockbuster. The plot is the first thing. If you have the good plot, even the character does not matter, the thoughts, okay, the thoughts does not matter. It matters a lot, but plot is something that makes the movie hit, that makes the movie blockbuster. And after that, all the characters, actors, directors, producers, music, songs, spectacles, visuals come. Even a movie without good visual spectacle can have a good plot and can be successful. Okay, so plot is something that is known as mythos. It has been asked in the examination. Ethos is known as the character. It has been asked in the examination. Thought is known as dialonia, and here we have lexis, known as diction. Okay, so you have to remember all these things as it is. Now here we have the plot structure. We have already seen the plot. Okay, we have seen the plot. In this plot, we have the plot structure, which is subdivided into three categories: hamartia, agnorasis and peripeteia. Okay, so hamartia is known as tragic flow. Hamartia is known as tragic flow. Okay, hamartia is known as the tragic flow. Tragic flow means excessive weakness in the hero. So here we have the hero Oedipus Rex. Oedipus Rex is the hero of the play Oedipus Rex. So Oedipus has the weakness, and the weakness was pride. Weakness is also known as hubris. Okay, so that's a UGC net question, that which of the following is related to hubris. So hamartia is related to hubris. Hubris is tragic flaw. Pride, that weakness will make the downfall of the character towards the end of the play. Then we have anagnorisis. In anagnorisis means recognition. जब हीरो को पता लगता है that he has done something wrong, that sudden surprising moment, सरप्राइज हो जाता है हीरो कि यार ये क्या हो गया. Okay, so in the beginning of the play, Oedipus Rex is a play, and in the beginning of that play, there was a prophecy that Oedipus is going to kill his father and then he will marry his mother. So that was the prophecy in the beginning of this play, and it was happened in such a way that by the end of the play, Oedipus did actually marry his mother and begot a lot of children out of his mother, and the relationship between son and mother, that is also known as Oedipus complex, given by Sigmund Freud, but we will not go in detail. So Oedipus get actually married with his mother and he doesn't know it, but by the end of the play he come to know about this particular thing, that he married his mother. So that is recognition. He got surprised that he married his own mother. He got surprised, and from here the downfall starts. The reversal of fortune changes the hero's fortune dramatically, usually leading toward ruin. Okay, so from here we have the catharsis, and we feel sorry about the hero. We love Oedipus, and catharsis happened. We started crying as an audience. So that is the whole how the play should be created. So जब भी कोई भी play या कोई tragedy लिखी जाती है तो ये सब चीजें mind में रख के लिखी जाती है, so that it can have maximum effects on the reader and audience should learn while watching the play. Okay, so that is whole what this Aristotle's plot structure all about. Here we go with unity of action, unity of time, and unity of place. You have to learn like this tab. Okay, tab. अगर आप कभी भी प्ले लिख रहे हो तो प्ले हमेशा अकॉर्डिंग टू एरिस्टोटल इट शुड फॉलो द यूनिटी ऑफ एक्शन, टाइम एंड प्लेस. It should not be like Three Idiots. In Three Idiots, the heroes, Amir Khan is going into Ladakh, he's going to Manali, and then movie is revolving around in the 10 years ago, 10 years forward, 10 years back. So it is breaking all the unities. Okay, it should be not like that according to Aristotle. But modern critics do not follow the unity of time, action, and place. But earlier that was a big concept. So every play should follow unity of action, time, and place. Unity of action means plot should be having one plot. There should not be any subplots, because if there is any subplots, the audience will get so much confused. Then what is this plot? You are talking about this, there is another plot going on, there is another plot going on. So there should not be subplots, should be one single plot. Unity of time, that the whole play should be covered up in one single day. It should not be like 10 years ago, 10 years forward, 10 years back. It should not be like Three Idiots. Okay, in Three Idiots it happened. In Three Idiots, Amir Khan was in engineering student, and then he completes the 4 years of engineering, and then after 5 years he got the job in Ladakh, and he is doing his job in Ladakh. It should not be like this. And then we have unity of place. Unity of place should be like, if the play is happening here in Delhi, so it should be happening in Delhi. It should not be somewhere in Jammu, somewhere in Ganganagar, somewhere in Rajasthan. It should not be like this. Okay, the play should be here and one single time. So unity of action, time, and place is the most important thing that you have to remember while discussing Aristotle. So everyone has their own point of view. We will see the modern critics who are going against Aristotle's point of view. For example, William Shakespeare Hamlet. William Shakespeare Hamlet is something which is not following the time, which is not following the place, which is not following the action. William Shakespeare broke all the unities. But according to Aristotle, these unities must be followed by the writer who is writing the play. Then we have tragedy versus epic poetry. So Aristotle was in favor of tragedy, that tragedy is much more better than epic. Epic is Epic is something boring. Epic is something boring. A poetry. What is a poetry? Is very long. There are a lot of episodes. There are a lot of things in the poetry, which is a sort of documentary sort of thing. Okay, it is a like documentary. So documentary is boring. There are a lot of fluff in there. So documentaries, but tragedy is like watching a short film or watching like a movie. So what is much more entertaining, movie or a documentary? Of course, movie. So tragedy, Aristotle favored tragedy because tragedy has emotional impact. Tragedy talks about the fatal flaw like the excessive pride, hubris, excessive hamartia, and tragedy also talk about moral conflict and inevitable fate, that we cannot run away from the destiny. Destiny has said that the hero should die. That is the fate. We cannot ignore the fate. Maybe you will become Nobel Prize award in English literature. Maybe you will not be able to make your career in English literature. We just cannot escape from the fate. We just have to accept the life as it is, because nothing happens according to our circumstances, nothing happens to what we think, but most of the time it also happens based on our karmas. So life, whatever life gives you, you have to accept your fate as it is. So that's what tragedy talks about, that's what tragedy shows. But epic is very boring. Aristotle favored tragedy over intensity, over anything else. So these all are the things that I wanted to share with you in this video. I hope you found the video helpful. If you have not joined the UGC NET English Literature batch, then do it. I'm sure that's going to help you a lot, and I will be personally helping you qualifying these competitive exams in English literature. I will see you soon in the next video. That's it for this. Thank you.